right, thank you very much for that backgrounder. We have with us in the studios Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, who's a member of the Presidential Transition Council. We're glad to have you on the program this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios is Malam Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President in respect of media and publicity. Malam Garba Shehu, thank you and welcome.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We're also expecting, I hope, Dr. Betta Edu, the national women leader of the APC, and as soon as she joins us, we'll properly do her introduction. But let me welcome, of course, the DG, the Voice of Nigeria, Mr. Osita Okechukwu, to our studio, and of course the Special Assistant, Media and Publicity to the President, the Senior Special Assistant to the President, Garba Shehu. Thank you very much for joining us. So, the lineup for the inauguration is already in progress. Yesterday, we saw, of course, the regimented dinner for Mr. President. Just speak to us about, let me start with Mr. Garba Shehu. The import of these inaugurations, these massive inaugurations of projects.
The inauguration of the incoming president, is that right? Or inauguration
of projects? I said
projects.
Massive inauguration of projects.
Oh, that
yes.
is. Oh.
Yes.
Well, the difference President Muhammadu Buhari has made is that he is focused on getting things done. And again, without going into politics, the people from whom we took power, they were here 16 years. They were very good in laying foundation stones, but they never were good in completing projects. President Muhammadu Buhari became focused on doing things and getting them done, completing projects. There are ministries in government, 8 years, they never initiated one single project that is new. All they have been doing is complete what they found, because it's public money that had been invested in all of these things. So they've been doing completing projects. So as we speak today, President Buhari has, of course, just 5 days to go, and there is enormous pressure on him. Virtually every minister of government has projects he has completed. Governors want him to do this and that. So this is just the period of commissioning as much as he can do.
Why did they wait till this time? That's the question the public, will be asking. Why wait until now? I mean, these are some things that you probably have completed before now. You could easily have inaugurated them. So why, lump them up and...
No, it's a build-up. And this is, you want to mark the end in a big way, in a grand way.
Okay.
And so therefore, and you are marking, you are completing the term, and therefore this is signified. You are underscoring this completion of term with completion and delivery of projects. So we are doing all of these things, railway, whether it's roads, bridges, clinic or hospital, so much that is just happening, and yes, we have done so much to complete projects, start them and finish, and that's a significant part of it.
All right, Malam Garba Shehu, I still want to stay with you, and in this case, with regard to the inauguration of the new president on the 29th of May. You were there on the 29th of May 2015. And in terms of the build-up at that time and now, what are the significant differences, if any, in terms of optics?
I think that this time around, there's better planning and better preparation for succession and all of the ceremonies that will follow. Don't forget that actually President even signed an executive order to put in place a transition committee. This had never been the case before. We read the memoirs, Ruben Abati and all of that had written. When President Muhammadu Buhari, when former President Jonathan handed over to President Buhari at the Eagle Square on May 29, 2015, there were very embarrassing moments that followed. reportedly, in fact, the former president was left stranded at some point. And yes, the story was told that by the time he got to the airport, operatives would not allow him the use of the presidential wing of the airport and all of that. So all of these things have been foreseen and planned for. So you would expect a perfect process of, exit and the incoming, processes involving the two leaders, outgoing president and the incoming president.
All right, let's take the conversation to the DG of Voice of Nigeria. What's your take about? I'm looking at the items now, lined up, prior to the handover itself, the inauguration itself, and I'm looking at the massive inauguration of projects. And what do you think will be the thinking of Nigerians at this point in time when they see some of these projects? And will they be amazed? Say, oh, really?
Thank you very much. I know where you're coming from. And as my brother Gabashev said, I was in one of the meetings where then we were telling Mr. President that the companies had failed. Mr. President said no. I took months to go through the files. Some were not paid for 7 years. Some were not paid for 5 years. Some were not paid for 2 years. I cannot classify them as failure. But the little money we have here, let's give those contractors. When they get back to field, we'll now have a position to assess whether they are doing well or not. And to be honest, as Garba said, most of the contractors passed. I remember reporting back to him that the one doing a section between Enugu and 9 Mile was not doing well. He said he should go back to the Minister of Works, His Excellency Fashola. I went back. Fashola said, Osita, I've got the report before. Because the federal roads were in segments. One contractor in segment A, the other one in segment 2. The one RCC is doing between the end before 9 Mile, back to Oka was okay, but that one wasn't good. So I got back to Mr. President. Mr. President said, go to the Attorney General. I'm not the head of state anymore. I'm now president of Nigeria under democracy. I cannot sit down and cancel a contract. The process it took was about 3 years before the federal government won in court. That's why the road was not concluded. And secondly, as Garba Shehu said, we're also in a democracy where luckily Nigerian people should be happy that for 20-something years, the first time in the Nigerian history, that we have a seamless transition from one regime to the other. What is the outcome? The outcome is that if you have 500 billion for roads, for instance, because you are in a democracy, you cannot choose one or two and finish. Because the next day at the National Assembly, the man from one constituency in Ugeb finds a new road to infuse. The one in Duse comes up to tell you, that's my constituency. There must be represented. What do I tell them when I get home? So the amount each ministry has is splitted on many projects. So it becomes a gradual. You ask yourself, why was the second Niger bridge concluded? It was concluded because Mr. President devoted some money to some key projects. And he forced within one of them. Otherwise, if he was on the cocktail, it had to be split. So that's why it's as if it was a gradual run that Mr. President now doing massively. Where was he? He was there. But he was trying to meet up with all the constituencies. Remember, in spite of all the critiques against Mr. President on, oh, Mr. President is sectional, is this, is that, nobody criticized him being sectional on projects.
Nobody take note of that. There's an irrigation dam in Enugu that had the most massive agricultural field in the First Republic, the Adada irrigation. It was started in 1962, blossomed. The then Emir Bara regime and the Israelis. But it was abandoned after the Civil War. The day they were debating about what Mr. President is doing, is it only the second Niger bridge? I told those who were with me in the sports club, if we can go to the place tomorrow, they say, to do what? I say, you will see what is going on there. Mr. President invested over 2.8 billion. Irrigation.
But this project.
It wasn't a day's matter, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's not under a military regime where you could single out three, devote all the money and finish. You must spread. Otherwise, you have problem at the parliamentary side. Do you get that? On the transition, the committee had done so well. It's going to be seamless because luckily for us, Mr. President, as Garba Shehu said, ordered that he should start early. I belong to the media publicity side. We review what the event is doing, what the security is doing, what others are doing. And from all indications, even the visitors have started coming. You could see the former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, as a signpost of the dignitaries that will be attending the inauguration.
How many foreign media are you expecting? Any idea?
Oh, the accreditation to midnight yesterday, some who said we never heard of them.
Okay, well, there's an issue I would like you gentlemen to also speak to in terms of scheduling. Because part of the announcement is that the president-elect and the vice president-elect will be invested with national honors. President-elect, Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, the Vice President-elect, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, as it is. But I'm just wondering, maybe either of you, Garba Shehu, if you remember this, I thought that in 2015, the investiture of the Vice President-elect as with the national honor of GCON was done at the swearing-in at the Eagle Square. Now, that of the President Kudu wasn't done because he had previously, of course, received it as a former head of state. What has informed now the investiture some 2-3 days before actual inauguration?
Well, I don't have the insight into why that is the case. Yes, I know even in 1989, I mean, this thing had been done at the Eagle Square all the time. But then we are getting better and learning from, other places. I am aware that the committee, with the transition committee, which is headed by the secretary to the government, had done, in fact, had sent people outside, but to Kenya, in Africa, to the United States, to learn more about how these things can be better done. Now, I don't know whether that is coming from these visitations. I'm saying that we are witnessing a more enriched process of inauguration because we have also learned some more things from other places.
How?
Also,
Okay.
Gigi, what information do you have on this? Because I just thought it was one of the things I saw on the timetable, and I thought that it was something. It seemed a bit curious. So, what informs the novelty?
I don't see the curiosity. We are saying that the program on the last day should be simple and smart. And what is the major highlight? It's the speech of the new president. If you crowd it with other items, you make it cumbersome. And not forget that some president will fly in and fly out that day. So do you consider their own protocol? So you don't just consider the protocol of us because we are here. You must take into account the protocol of your August visitors. And these are prominent world leaders who are coming. So I think that was what the event committee decided, that it is symbolic, yes, but let it not jam pack the program.
It doesn't take a hell of a time, I mean, for that part of the decision to be done. But by the way, Mr. Osita Okechukwu, the president's inaugural address is probably not the most significant item. The most significant item is to subscribe to the oath of office, I imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say, but
I imagine.
Yes, yeah, in fact, I was going to say that. I was going to,
That's the lawyer.
I was going to say, what happens to the core. That's the core.
Talking of symbol, the substance is that some people.
If that is also a substantive matter.
That's symbolic.
It's
It's a symbol.
No,
But
it's
the
not
substance
symbolic.
is that people want to know what Mr. President promised them on that day. Some keep the inaugural address
Yes.
on daily basis to query you.
Okay, where do you place the oath of allegiance taken in terms of priority and value?
No, there's always a demarcation in public domain on symbols and substance. Yes, the oath of office is symbolic. It's the height of the symbol of that day. But the substance, anybody who wants to rate, I remember one day, that I could remember, they were saying, Mr. President, you said the legislature and the should be different. What is this cooperation? And who answered? Who said the cooperation is to make it seamless for policies to be. What is the person referring to? The inaugural of Mr. President. It was categorical. There are 3 arms.
The oath of office gives the president's speech the force of, of the law. So if he had not done that, whatever he says,
No, the oath is the key thing.
is the key thing.
That's
It's the
true.
key thing. But my question,
Actually, 2 oaths, if you look at the 7th schedule to the Constitution. Not just the oath of allegiance.
An oath of office.
Because if you don't subscribe to those 2 oaths, read your address, you're just reading your address as an individual. Perhaps still as president-elect.
All right, let me ask my question, Kingsley. I'm just wondering, and I'm sure a lot of people would also be wondering, what is the size of the items on the inauguration activities? What is the size of it in terms of the invitations people are expected, in terms of the cost and all that? Because from the itinerary, it would appear that this is going to be an extensive inauguration ceremony.
Some insights obviously will come from the committee. However, what I know is that there's a huge interest both locally and internationally on attendance of this inauguration. As a matter of fact, I'm aware that the president-elect and the vice president-elect, they have 60% of invitations to the event. The outgoing president, including foreign missions and all of that, just 40%. And this is where, you have a problem, because the thing has reached a crunch as we speak to now, because there is massive interest in people wanting to be there. As I said, diplomats, foreign, guests, and of course people who think they have played one part or another, leading to this process. So we expect a huge crowd, a full Eagle Square of enthusiastic and very keen people.
Okay, you've talked as a journalist. Let's also bring in the DJ, who is a member of the planning committee. Is it possible to put a figure?
It cannot be wider than the seats at Eagle Square itself. Because locally here, a lot of governors had insisted that their invitation was very scanty. And we told them, we ration it state by state basis. We do not want to hem it above any other person. But outside the inaugural, we're also talking about the legacy of Mr. President. He did not end just in infrastructure alone. A lot of people forgot that Mr. President had, in coming to power, one of the biggest chunk of money with the little we had then was on the bailout of salaries and pensions being owed by state governors. Some state governors were owing up to 22 months. Some 20, some 15. And in that meeting, I was trying to tell Mr. President, if you tell us that you are spending 1.5 trillion to bail out state governors because salaries and pensions, sir, in a simple arithmetic, a law proportion of 50 million per kilometer, 1 trillion would do over 5,000 federal roads, and that would give more shine to the government, incoming government. Mr. President said, Osita, maybe you never worked in the civil service. If you have ever worked in the civil service, the first month you are not paid, second month you are not paid, third, 10. That even those you borrow in your neighborhood, you borrow from, will get fatigued. And the tendency will be that your kids might even drop out of school. So he want to pay for that. Nobody remembers that. At the close of events, it's over 3 trillion. Because he kept on borrowing, bailing out, because of his own penchant for the human nature. If you tell any of those governors today, they don't even, when they want to criticize Mr. President, they don't remember that. So, if we're coming to where Mr. President is coming, we should not forget as well. There's this other one, this social investment. A lot of people who do not know what 10,000 means, when they heard that a lady was giving 10,000, what is it? But in going around to know the beneficiaries who converted it into changing their own lives, it's unimaginable. Can I go to pensions in a larger scale? Mr. President paid up to the pension of police officers that did not come back to federal service after the Civil War. Those were piled up before he came. If you go to the office of Peter and they show you their diary, you'll marvel. Even lecturers who are either because of struggle for who becomes the vice chancellor, they were dismissed through irregular means. Mr. President said, please don't allow the aged to die, because if you're fighting corruption, if you don't take care of pensioners, then you're not fighting corruption, because the man who retired will come back and tell those who are serving to resort to self-help.
So, DG, in all of this, what does this amount? How does it relate to this inauguration?
The inauguration is embedded.
Because eventually you're still going to let all Nigerians know, all the details.
To inauguration, but
yes.
let the Nigerians also know what they have forgotten. Those who benefited sometimes easily forget, because for them, if you were like somebody who is selling bread in the community, and a worker is borrowing from you monthly, and could not pay you, you don't know what it means.
All right, let's leave it at that. But let me quickly welcome Dr. Betta Edu, who is the national women leader of the APC. While Mr. Osita Okechukwu was speaking to us, she quietly walked in. I did say we were expecting her. I hope she's mic'd up. Dr. Edu, thank you. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and apologies for getting here.
Yes.
I'll keep you on hold in the meantime. I'll go back to Garbasheo. Garbasheo, in terms of inauguration, the new president comes in on the 29th of May. On that day, I'm sure he will make some of his appointments that do not require confirmation by the legislature. But give our viewers a sense of what the Aso Villa is like on that day. Does the president fully take charge along with his aides at the villa? And if so, what happens to those whose tenure of office would also have expired on account of a fluxion of time?
Well, as we speak today, the villa is already being emptied of men and staff. So, you know, as the First Lady disclosed, actually the president had already left the main building, you know, for the president, and has moved to a smaller, you know, one they call the glass house, which is just by the side. That was a place kept for his guests who he would choose to normally, you know, have spend their nights in the State House. But, you know, contractors, everyone, Julius Berger, they have taken over the main building, and, you know, they are redoing virtually everything. So the president would make the choice when, I mean, the newly sworn in president on that day will make the choice of either driving straight, you know, to the villa. By then it would have been emptied of virtually everyone as far as, you know, his occupancy is concerned. Or he can decide to go. In the case of President Muhammadu Buhari, he did about 3 weeks away by his own choice. In 2015, when he came, he was still operating from Aso Drive, the private residence that had been loaned to him by friends, and was reporting to work and back until, you know, about, as I think, 20 or so days, then he decided to move into the villa. Appointments, as you said, no matter the circumstances, of course, you expect the earliest would be the personal staff, and possibly, you know, the chief of staff, and possibly the secretary of the government. Again, it depends on what the president, on being sworn in, would like to do. In our own case, 2015, the first set of announcements, appointments the president did in 2015 were of myself and Femi as spokespersons, and then Ambassador Kazauri as protocol. And, you know, for the next 3 days, we were the only ones there until gradually the team began to build up.
Let me ask you, just before we bring in Dr. Betta Edu into our conversation. During the tenure of the immediate past, the President Goodluck Jonathan, you know, when he left office, we understood, I mean, it was all over the media that just few days to, you know, the inauguration of the present administration, all traffic ceased from going to his office. So has traffic also shifted to the you know, residence of the president-elect? Has traffic moved away from?
No, you can't. And again, you can't change human beings. So the man of the moment, obviously, is the incoming president. So you will expect people will come around him. But I think the case of Dr. Jonathan was different, because I think, again, there was desertion of himself by a number of people around him who felt disappointed that he chose to be patriotic, nationalistic, accept defeat. There were, and quite a number of people within his camp were not happy with that. So yes, there was desertion. But I think in the case of President Muhammadu Buhari, you know, the villa had never been like the party headquarters for him all of these 8 years. Visitors come, but there has been some decency in all of these things, and I don't think that we are witnessing any you know, spectacular, you know, desertion of the place.
What about you? Do you also receive has the number of calls to your phone?
What are you talking about? In fact, the calls have increased, and I will tell you why. Because there are people who think that being in this office, and I'm going to lose, I will tell you, we are going to lose a lot of friends, because the calls are about your government is going, you haven't done anything for me, you haven't given me, you haven't given me any job, you haven't given me contracts, special assistant. I tell them, I don't have any contract, I'm not even in the budget. But people simply don't understand. So yes, there's a crowding in on you, but by people who are scavengers, who just want to take something before you go. And I say, well,
you know, sorry, let's just pursue this point one more time. Again, for the benefit of our viewers, when you say, Madam Gabashew, that the Aso Villa is being emptied, the impression that the average viewer will get is that, oh, on the 29th of May, there will be virtually nobody in the State House. But you know that there are civil and public servants who are employed, and then probably is being, so who are those being emptied? Political appointees?
No, I'm talking about in terms of residency or political. In fact, the public servants, career people, there are a lot more in number in the villa than elected people and appointees. So I'm talking about personal aides of the president whose spouses by now will have found new homes. So that is only the master who will join on May 29.
life is certainly transcend. All right, let's bring in Dr. Betta Edu, National Woman Leader, very strong women leader of the APC. And it's good to see you after all the rigors of the campaigns and all that. I see you're quite refreshed, looking forward to the inauguration proper. Sure. But where do the women come in here in terms of, participation in the lineup?
A whole lot is going on. Of course, women have always been at the heart of everything that is being done. First, there was the Transition Council, and we had women there as part of the Transition Council. And then, of course, the president-elect also nominated lots of women too as part of his representation in the subcommittees of the entire inauguration and transition process. And all of this has been going on for some 2 months now, I think from March 8th up until now. So plans are really on the way, high key, and everyone is in a high spirit. Women have been mobilized. Over, I think, 25,000 wrappers have been distributed to women across the country. So they are not all expected to come into Abuja for the inauguration, but the president, the wife of the president-elect, Senator Luremi Tinubu, just wants women to be happy in their state, in their locations, queue into viewing centers or at home, and then of course try to celebrate a new birth for Nigeria.
How is that distributed? How has that been distributed?
Okay, that has been sent out already.
Yes, and to what category of women?
Yes, so the state women leaders across the country have received, wives of governors, outgoing, incoming, have received, and then key stakeholders in all the states have received. Beyond this, other activities are going on, like today. Women will be going to IDP camps, Karamajiji and other places just to give out items to people as part of celebration for the incoming government. Of course, the core of the planning have a lot of women. I'm in charge, or I'm part of the medical committee, and we have a lot of women there working, trying to put things together. We have the venue, logistics, all of those going on as we speak. The events have already started, like you know, with the press briefing on the 18th. Yesterday they had the regimented dinner. We're all there, and of course we are going on and on. Each event, at the core of the planning, core of implementation, we have women.
I just wanted to throw this as an obiter. That is, by the way, 25,000 wrappers, you said, across the country. I hope those wrappers were produced in one of the textile mills in Kaduna or elsewhere in the country.
Definitely, you can bring in wrappers. Like one very beautiful thing, which we must give kudos to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, is creating the enabling environment. All of the textiles we use for the entire campaigns, we're talking of textiles that are running to millions, were all made in Nigeria, from Kanu, from different places. I have them, and even this is still from Nigeria here.
Fantastic. Now, usually an inauguration ceremony excites a lot of passion, a lot of interest and anticipation. What is it you are sensing at this time? Because if you say you are giving this out to APC women leaders to distribute, do you have every Nigerian on board, or a broad spectrum of Nigerians who are also looking forward to a new president? You cannot be president of a slice of the country or of a political party. You are the president of everybody.
So I think if you can feel what's going on, even in the political space, you'll see that there's been a lot of bring to the table, in quote and unquote. So it's like a unity government coming up, and you can see very clearly there have been discussions, engagements with different political parties, bringing them all on the table to ensure that we go beyond party now into governance and look at how we can move Nigeria forward. I think within the first 24, 48 hours, you had that drag, that it's not my party that won, and all of that. You had all the hate going on, all the attacks on social media and the rest of it. But if you have noticed in the last 2 weeks, the narrative is beginning to change. You hear pastors now coming out in church to say, look, Asiwaju is going to be president, nothing is going to happen, and we need to all go and work with him. You hear the imams, you hear everyone beginning to key in and understand that this is Nigeria, it belongs to all of us, and we have a leader now that is coming in. We need to come together to support him. I think in town here in Abuja, we're beginning to feel a lot of life, a lot of celebration. If you go to the Unity Park every day, the activities going on. I pass there, and they're not party members. They're not even APC party members. They're just Nigerians that want to be part of the celebration. And then, of course, as an individual, I've had lots of people, so many, call me up. They're not in our party. They were not supportive to the candidate as at then, who is now the president-elect. But you hear them say, Dr. Betta, you should carry us along. Go, we are back. We want to be part of this.
Carry us along.
But you said something before my colleague. Let me also throw this in, because I read it and I spoke about it on Good Morning Nigeria sometime last week. You said pastors and other clergy are already saying nothing is going to happen. The president-elect will be sworn in.
Yes.
What I'm about to say now, as I said it last week on Good Morning Nigeria.
Yes.
The Association of White Witches and Wizards, based in Calabar, also issued a statement.
Dr. I don't know about the Nigeria.
I'm telling you, they issued a statement that the president-elect should contact them, and that they will ensure that the transition program is.
I read about it.
Yeah,
too,
no.
Dr. Betta, you can't say you didn't read about
they
it.
also invited.
You can't say
I read about it, but I don't know who they are. I'm from Cross River, right?
Yeah.
We don't even know them locally, so we don't know where they came from and why they're writing what they're writing. The president-elect believes in God, and God has brought him thus far, and God will take him through the process. For the witches, they should just rejoice that there's a new Nigeria coming in and give their support, because all Nigerians, witch or no witch, have to support the incoming government.
All right, let me take you up on your area of responsibility now as regards the inauguration, and that's providing health services. I know this is going to be a kind of regimented, ceremony, so we don't expect to see crowding in or any emergencies, stampede, or all that. But what is the quality of Medicare that you're providing on that day?
Okay, so we're not just attached to that day. We are on every event. So whether it's going to the mosque or going to church on Sunday or going for the investiture or going for the lectures, we are at every event. So we're setting up ambulances, mini clinics where people can come in and get help. And should they be emergencies, they're first responders. We have identified hospitals within FCT that would receive when we evacuate, if there's any need for that. Sometimes it's not necessarily stampede or injury as such, but people falling out of exhaustion. So they've been standing for so long under the sun, doing their parade, and then the person is exhausted and he drops. But on the day of 29th of May, we have already identified areas where the medical team will stay. So we have doctors, nurses, consultants, very good, strong hands on the ground, people who have all the emergency items with them to attend to anyone. We have the mobile ambulance clinic, 2 of them, from FCM, Jabi, and then of course the National Hospital. They will be at Eagle Square.
Are this part of the emergency medical ambulance service that the Minister of Health talked about?
So not necessarily.
Okay, so
yeah, but it's still a part of it in a way, but not directly. So all of these are going to be stationed at each of the locations. We have a team that will be at the airport. So we have a lot of guests coming into Nigeria. They can fill the forms to state what their health status is at the point in time, and if they would require medical help during their stay here. We also have this logistics at the different hotels where accommodation have been provided for the visitors that are coming in. We've had about 3 drills so far. Last week we had training on Friday, on Saturday, for the medical workers who will be working on the team. They have gone through security screening, and then they'll be given their tags. We'll also be using State House Clinic, like I said, and of course for the
state-of-the-art,
exactly, for the VVVIPs and the presidents that are coming in, vice presidents that are coming in, and then others who will use the National Hospital, Maitama, Asokoro, and a couple of places. So all of this have been worked out. They have been trained, and they're good to go. We're starting from tomorrow, where they will be stationed at the investiture, and then after that, the lecture, then to the mosque on Friday, where we have different points. In the mosque, I think we have about 6 points, where the entrance, and then we have the evacuation corridor if need be. So it's a full plan, tact team, wonderful team.
Is it also going to be flamboyant? Because I know in other climes where you have, this kind of, peaceful and exciting, inauguration ceremony. It's usually very flamboyant, very colorful, and very inviting. I don't know. Let me ask Dr. Kechuku. Mr. Kechuku. Yes.
Mr.
Yes, please.
No, we're even going to have fireworks.
Wow.
Yes.
And the National Council of Arts and Culture had done its own bits, and walked out to the states to do selection so that there will be all the colors, all the tribes, all the different dancing groups, both masquerades. We told them that the big masquerade should not be there, the same must be there.
How you bring the Juju Calabar?
So it's been because the culture is one of the things nobody could deny.
Yeah.
That we have not done so well. And even in Nollywood is part of the committee. They have a representation because both in the nights there were events where you exhibit outside the main day. So it's a gamut of festivities. Given the moderation of the incumbent president, he doesn't like throwing money away. so we wanted to be more expansive. But Mr. President said, for God's sake, we still need to know within the limits. But it's going to be a harvest.
Sorry, how many countries? I would like, for you to do you know how many countries will be coming?
As I said, they keep on, like the Americans.
So you don't have
the
numbers?
Americans send their own list of delegation, about 10.
Okay,
They'll
that's
be headed by one of the secretaries, which is equivalent to minister here. So you keep on coming, and confirmation keep on going on. It goes to the last day. That's why we normally make reserve seats. Some will call you early in the morning.
So for how many have confirmed?
We don't have the exact figure now.
Okay.
So the figures are probably still being compiled, obviously, as you said.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Even those you got 2 weeks ago, you still keep on confirming. Because you never know what.
But at least we've confirmed the UK.
And
Tony
US.
Blair was here.
And US.
And US.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of... You're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I want to come back very quickly to Osita Okechukwu, DG of VOM. One of the activities for the inauguration is an inaugural lecture, as it were. What is the value of such an inaugural lecture, if any?
You're very correct. It is on the high premium of one of our programs. That's why we went internationally. And luckily for us, we got the former president of Kenya, who also did a seamless transition, and who was born in a state house in Kenya, and later became president of Kenya. So we gave premium, and a Saturday, all the international media have been accredited. The majors, the CNN, the BBC, the Al Jazeera, and co. So giving premium to that because he's trying to talk on his own personal experience and the value of democracy. As Mr. Churchill said, yes, democracy is not the best, but it's the best among all type of government he had known. It's better than authoritarian government, it's better than... So we looked around on who had the experience and what he can also showcase that he had done in his own country. He do not just come here to tell us what he read in theory. Kenyatta is going to explore his own personal experiences and what he had done and where Africa is heading to, in line to liberal democracy, as still the best form of government on earth. And the other day, in a voicemail, he was telling us that why he's impressed about Nigeria is that while some countries in the sub-region were leaving the democratic lane, that Nigeria still maintain this lane as the best, and that when he comes on Saturday, because we told him, we do not need to give out your speech, but we needed to know where you're coming from. And we had that parley with him. So Saturday, he will be there to lead the discussion.
Okay, I'll just like to look at the import of the oath of allegiance, which will be a critical part of the inauguration. And I don't know, it's like it's becoming ceremonial.
Well, it is, but we have seen leaders take oath when they assume offices. My sense is that I'm not seeing any oath as weighty as that being, being sworn to by Nigerian elected officials. It's so loaded, pages of, stuff, and the commitments left, right, and center. And for God's sake, somebody holding the scripture, whether it's Bible or the Quran. So the sense you have then is that whoever goes through this drill must never do anything wrong.
That's the sense, but
well, but we are Nigerians, but we know it doesn't happen that way. So really, people have their consciences to check and to live up to. But really, I think that those who wrote the oath for Nigerian public officials, they left nothing out, and they gave you no chance whatsoever to stray. Yes, it's amazing that it does happen.
Yeah, I just wondering, Malaga Bashir, at the time of subscribing to the oath of office and then the oath of allegiance, we're talking about either the Bible or the Quran. I've had this question asked a number of times, and I think some of our viewers will also be interested in understanding it. Why is it that the Quran is often kept in a pouch and slung over the shoulder? Why? Do you have a sense of why that is so? I've seen that, for instance, with the swearing in of the Chief Justice of the Federation or other officials, usually at the State House. What informs that? Is it is it that this is we don't, these are sacred documents, no question about that. Yes. Well, how do you explain that?
No, I think it's just maybe for convenience of carrying. I think the modern scriptures are contained in smaller booklets these days now. But I think that when you had perhaps this is coming from the days of the handwritten Quran, which was enormously it's huge in size, and you really need a carriage for it. But otherwise, there is no connection between the form and the content. Absolutely none.
All right, again, just let me draw out, part of the oath of office, the contents, and to see how weighty it is, because we must remind our leaders when they take this oath of office what they are sworn to. Mm-hmm. And part of it says that I will do my best, I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But here is the core, that I will abide by the code of conduct contained in the 5th schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that in all circumstances I will do right to all manner of people according to law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will, that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as President. This is very, very significant to anybody that is coming in as a President of Nigeria.
You left one important segment of the allegiance.
Yes.
That I debate with senior lawyers. They will tell you that Chapter 2 of the Constitution that talks of the fundamental objectives and principle of state policy, that is not justiciable. And I normally ask them, in that oath of allegiance, you also swore to preserve it. What you swore to preserve as a president, as a governor, how then are you saying it's not justiciable? That the oath is a commitment falls under the social contract between the leader and those who willingly voted him into office. So, because if you go through that Chapter 2, it contains all that could make, as Garba said, society better.
Yes.
It talked of one, that the primary purpose of this government is the security and the welfare of the people. It goes to talk of free speech, all the 5 freedoms. And so you're correct, but don't forget we are human beings. And even in our own scriptures, when, for instance, Jesus Christ was asked, what prayer do we lead to your Father?
Every leader in other climes, every leader is held account, it's reminded of the oath of office and allegiance, and it's evaluated based on that.
On it.
So, but here, after the swearing to the oath on that inauguration day, it's bye-bye. I mean, like you say, the human aspect of us,
No, it's not fair to say so.
Well,
it's not fair to say so, because when you consider the fact that the Nigerian state, for instance, no matter whatever anybody tells you about the country, we've advanced. When we were taken off in the 60s, we had about 3 universities. Today we have over 200. Don't care about whether it's public owned or private owned. Talk about the hospitals. My doctor leader is here. But we don't count it as an advancement.
Don't talk about the hospitals, Mr. Kechu.
No, you can dismiss it.
Leave the hospitals alone, because we know what the hospitals
you
are.
talk about medical tourism. How many go for the medical tourism?
Sorry?
Do you know? There's a cousin of us who was to go to US. At the Mount Sinai Hospital, they told him no. Go to Lagos, Abuja and Port Harcourt. We have 2 entries there. The issue is information. And the funds you are at disposal.
Just because
it appears to me unfair to assume that there's an abandonment of the oath of office or oath of allegiance immediately after subscribing to them or at any point. I think that the actions of officials are governed and guided by the oaths to which they have subscribed. And in fact, deviation or departure from the oaths would amount to an impeachable offense under the law. So they should be reminded.
Yes.
They should be reminded at all times. But when you are operationalizing your agenda, of course, you have that guiding you at the back of your mind. The only other thing, of course, is what do you swear by? Some persons have said, introduce some of our traditional options.
Please don't bring Calabar again.
I beg you. I'm just trying to
You know, traditional. I remember, if you don't, let's also remind ourselves. In the 1980s, in the mid-1980s, when the struggle against apartheid was in top gear, President Obasanjo, as then was General Olusegun Obasanjo, was a member of the EPG, Eminent Persons Group. And in 1986, he said, look, one of the options that we needed to adopt to bring down the walls of apartheid would be juju.
Oh my God, Dr. Betta.
Yes, so
yes,
2 things, right? The first one is, in that oath, there's a place which says, to the best of my ability. So it becomes subjective. What is his
Best
ability? Your best ability is not my best ability. Right. So that's number 1. I think is subjective. Then, secondly, what you feel, that's what we refer to as felt needs of the people, and what a leader believes are the needs of a people. So you can come to my village and say, I'll provide water, light. But if you ask the people from my village, what's your biggest problem? They'll tell you, no, it's the war with the next community that has not allowed us to go to farm. So if you can even solve that. I remember when I went to engage with them as a run-up to the elections that was just won. And they said, we're going to support you. We're going to vote for you. But what we want is just peace between us and the next state, because we are at the border between Cross River and Ebonyi State. So they say what they want is just peace. They've not been able to go to farm. It's affecting the local economy and the rest of it. We don't want water. We don't want light. Yes, you built a primary health center here for us, but that's not our most pressing need. So sometimes you take an oath, you come into office, and you have what you believe is the need of those people, right? But it might not truly be a reflection of need of a larger percent of persons. And then, of course, you're not coming, you took the oath, but you're not coming to work alone. You're coming to work with lots of persons who have other agendas. So you might come on board and then you begin to see that 1 or 2 persons in your team are not aligning to the oath which you took, but we expect that you can lay them off.
Okay, let's quickly. I'm wondering, now that we are all concerned about those coming in, the safety and welfare and comfort of everyone that we've invited, and of course, in a hurry to get this done, and the president-elect, starts his duties. Are we also thinking about selling our country? revenue generation from old, you know, I mean, what are the plans? What are we doing? What is the planning committee doing to also open up, you know, the country to our visitors? I don't know. Maybe we'll quickly go round. Again, we'll start with the member of the planning committee, Mr. Okechukwu.
As I said, what we did was we made sure that it would be seamless from the airport, the borders. Because some of people are driving in. It's not everybody that is flying in. So we made sure that the first contact should be seamless so that it do not get drawn back. Even the Minister of Interior, in one of those days, he joined the meeting and said they have instructed our embassies abroad to issue visa expressly.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about, you know, selling our country, selling Nigeria, you know, making sure that our visitors, you know, maybe have things, places to visit, you know, and all that.
No, that's what I told you, that the various committees are marshaled out, especially the event committee. There's a booklet that tells you about the country, the tourist zones, the tourist places. If you want to walk out of Abuja, if you want to tour places in Abuja as well, this is where you could go, depending on your preference. So it's lined up in a small pamphlet.
You want to, you're nodding?
Yeah, so just to add on to that, I think we need to, at this point, begin to step up that level of, I'll say, excitement and preparedness for all those who are coming in. So we'll engage more with the FCTA, we'll engage more with the SGF and the entire team to see that we can make the town prepared for the visitors that are supposed to come in. The street lights, I see some painting of the road have started in some areas. Of course, we need to take it all the way down, clearing up some areas, moving the wrong people out of space, and all of those things that just
Garbashe will have the last say in just 60 seconds.
I have a question for Garbashe.
Please go ahead, because I'm not qualified to answer this.
And it's not related to this. The relationship between the predecessor and the successor, what in your view are some of the critical issues to watch out for? Because Nigerians would note that President Buhari has treated his predecessor, Goodluck Jonathan, with tremendous respect and amity, and he keeps referencing him in terms of what he did. You've been in the villa for many years now. What do you think guides that? I know there's a Council of State, which is a formal entity under the Constitution, but in terms of personal relationships, what are those issues to worry about?
We should have ended now, Malam Garuba, so you just have less than a minute to do that, I'm afraid.
What to expect between incoming and outgoing as of today? Is even a more perfect relationship? It's going to be the same government, different administrations. It's APC. When he took his certificate from INEC, the first thing he did was he flew to Daura, showed it to the president. And incoming President Ashwaji Bola Tinubu never gets tired of saying, the president allowed me to win. This is very significant. Allowed me to win. Free and fair process. When he went to Daura that day to present the certificate, he asked the question, why did I have to get off my jet in Katsina and then take a chopper to Daura? Can't we have a runway here in Daura so that the next time we are coming, jet engine will also land in the president's home state? That's the goodwill. And I think the government of Katsina has already started based on the hint given by the incoming president.
Malam Garuba.
Okay, I'll leave it at here.
Thank you. Okay, so let me appreciate Malam Garuba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to Media and Publicity to the President. Thank you very much for coming to share your itinerary with us. Let me also appreciate Osita Okechukwu, Director General, Voice of Nigeria. Vaughan, thank you very much, sir, member of the Planning Committee. And my friend and sister, Dr. Betta Edu, National Women Leader of the APC. Thank you very much for coming. All right, and that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria for today. It's the midweek edition. I would like to thank you from all of us here, and do also invite you, as always, to be part of our campaign against rape and rapists. I am Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak.
Join us again tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning, for a fresh edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Look after yourselves. My name is Kingsley Osadolo.